Hello ladies and gentlemen, this has took like 7 takes and it might take more. But welcome to the Little Nightmares theory / explain the video. Today, of course, there is a new format. Hello, welcome your faces to my face on a theory video again. This is going to be in and out, so let me know what you think of it. Make sure you hit like to let me know and all that jazz. But with that being said, today we're going to be talking about Little Nightmares 2 and a specific topic from there. Don't worry, I have a Poppy Playtime video coming in the next video, so if you're looking forward to that, make sure to hit subscribe with the bell, and not to worry because there is one coming. And I don't know why I'm flaying my hands so much, but I don't know. But anyway, as you can more than likely tell from the title, today we're going to be talking about the braided hair girl. So with that being said, of course, I wouldn't be a YouTuber if I didn't ask you to go ahead and hit subscribe if you like the content or want to see more Little Nightmares videos or things like Poppy or everything in between. And again, wouldn't be a YouTuber if I didn't ask you to hit subscribe, like, comment, all those things. But enough shameless self-promotion out of the way. Let's actually get into the video and talk about the braided girl and some of the ideas that we have about her. So let's start off with who is she? Well, we know she's the girl that was first introduced to us in the comics from 2021. That's right, that long ago. And in the comics, we got to see a good chunk of her character and what she looked like and how she acted. The girl has ginger hair, which is braided on both sides, and looks to be wearing some type of dress, or possibly something provided by a hospital, or like a gown or something. Unlike a lot of the characters in Little Nightmares, the girl with the braided hair actually has a visible face, and this time we're not left into the dark guessing her features. For instance, we now know that she has freckles. But one of the main characteristics about the girl is that she is in fact known to have blood dripping profusely from her nose from the whole time we've actually seen her in the comics. So as we mentioned before, she's seen in the comics, and for those that don't remember or know of the comics, let me show you the footage of the braided girl and remind you of what is going on and, the signs and things that we might have missed in the first go-around. In chapter 3 of the comics, we get introduced to the girl and what appears to be a cell. We later come to find that this is the cell in the hospital. It appears as if the girl is scraping away at the floor with her hands and nails, as indicated in the second image. In the second image, we get introduced to the girl with braided hair's signature characteristic, the bleeding from the nose as it falls upon her arm and hand. In the next few images, we hear a lot of clang, to which the girl responds and a figure appears behind the cell door. And at the moment we can't quite make out the figure, but we'll soon theorise about that in the video. And I actually think we have an answer for that rather than a theory. The figure slides a spoon to the girl, and thus the girl begins to use the spoon to dig. And it's at this point we're reminded again of the blood dripping from her nose as we see it. Later, in a few images, we come to find that the girl finds herself in a predicament as the spoon breaks, but at that moment, another spoon is given to her again. It's at this point the girl has a bright idea to keep a track of how many spoons she's using and marks down on the wall. 5 spoons later, she already makes quite a hole, and we see her go a little bit deeper. It's at this point we are shown an image of how many spoons she has gone through. After meticulously counting, we find that she has used around 72 spoons, give or take 1 or 2. And we can no longer see in her room, but there is a figure at the top right looking at the hole. After that image, we get to see how far the girl has dug, and we can see a trail that she has made and how far she's come. Just then she sees a light shining through the crack of the break of the floor, hoping that she will finally escape, and she starts breaking the floor above her away to find herself in another cell with spoons and a tally just like the one she made. While it looks awfully similar to the one in her room, I can assure you these are not the same rooms, as it has a different layout and more tally marks behind her. I do believe that this is the reason they show her face, as it's more of a place to show the extra tallies for the room, so you don't assume it's the same room. I do believe this is pretty good evidence for that. But there is one big difference with this room, and of course that becomes quite obvious in the next image, and it's the fact that the door is open, or gets opened. It's safe to say that whoever is observing her for all this time has now opened the door for her. But is it to escape? Highly unlikely. I believe this scene is just shown to us to let us know that this girl isn't the first person to be tested and treated like this. As she steps out of the room, you can see that the door has a type of marking on the bottom of it. Either it's shading or some type of scratch. While we do see some reference in Little Nightmares 2, where we throw the cheese into the hole, this isn't the same room because the doors do not match. And I do think this is actually more of a display of how the girl with the braided hair is just a lab rat in these kind of experiments with the Doctor, as we later see in the last few images of the comic, because just as the girl thinks that she has this freedom, the Doctor is right there in the background ready to reveal himself. So, a few questions usually pop up after seeing these comments, and they're mainly down to these few. Why is she bleeding? Who gave her the spoons? And how long has the figure been watching? So, let's start with the nosebleeds. Nosebleeds can be very common due to the thinness of the tissue in your nose, but again, I'm no doctor, so don't take my medical advice. But a few things that are surprisingly common for causing nosebleeds are things like dehydration, stress, and even the side effects of medicine. So it's safe to say that the environment that this girl is in and what is around her, aka the Doctor, it's obvious signs of why she is bleeding. And at this point, the girl must be so exhausted, stressed, and dehydrated, you know, pretty much black and white, that this is gonna happen. Plus, she has to dig the tunnel with a spoon. That's intense labor. And not to mention, you don't know if the Doctor has been drugging these patients of his, or, you know, putting them under something and then giving them something. It could be anything like that. We don't know. Wow, we kind of have an understanding of how twisted the Doctor is. So while he tests his patients all the time, who's not to say that he doesn't test these children like this either? And with that being said, this leads us nicely into our next topic, spoons. So who could be the one giving her the spoon? The more we go into this, the more obvious the answer becomes. It has to be the Doctor, or someone working for the Doctor, like a nurse, for example. The point of this being that the Doctor is in control, and he has also been keeping an eye on her as she digs this hole. But for what reason? One thought I had was that the girl was just, again, another experiment to the Doctor. And although it would be great to know what he was actually experimenting on or doing, one thing we can be sure of is that this happened before the game took place, as the environment is much more well kept. And this works in hand with my idea of the comics and how all the children will play a DLC part soon. So, this also leads me to my next point. Could she be in the DLC? I think that we could be seeing the girl again, and that is definitely in the next DLC, or one after another DLC. I think they would like to tell the story of this girl, as the start was indicated in the comics, and I think this would be a perfect way to reuse the assets that Bandai Namco already have, as we know that in the game files for Little Nightmares 2, the braided girl is there, and they have the whole hospital scene set up, and also the wilderness. So actually, in matter of fact, they have everything they need for that kind of whole scenario and chapter to play out. Not to mention her inclusion in the concept art, and it's very heavy in there alongside all the other children. And, you know, they all do appear in the comics too, so it's a little bit, they have to be part of this next story they want to tell. So, if she is in a DLC, how would that actually play out as in a playable chapter? How would it look like? Well, of course, I think it would take place in the Doctor's level, where we couldn't explore the areas in Little Nightmares 2 as Mono. I think the girl will have that ability, as her path could take us through an alternate route into the hospital and further down the wormhole. Of course, for gameplay it would be the same old Little Nightmares, so there wouldn't be much to expect there, apart from perhaps maybe a scarier atmosphere and more use of the patients and the doctor. And I must say, more of that is petrifying. And also, of course, fun, challenging puzzles. It would all be pretty much very Little Nightmares core. But I think, like the Lollipop Kid, I think we'll have the ability to use a spoon. Whether that be a, you know, reusable thing and we can only use it in certain locations, that would remain to be seen. But I do think, like, iconically, as the Lollipop Kid has the lollipop, I think the Spoon Girl will have the spoon. And thus, maybe dig her way out of a room and things like that. And maybe it'll play into the big part of her story, which we know from the comics, so who's not to say that this could happen in the DLC. One last bit of information that I think is really interesting is the possibility of the girl's name. Now, I first noticed this tweet when it was recommended to me. Upon seeing this, I decided to check the information, and it was true. As it is, Vortex is correct, so shout out to Vortex, check out his channel, he does lots of Little Nightmares stuff, and I believe he started posting Little Nightmares facts on Twitter, so again, link in the description below. But I was checking the information to see if the animation is called that, and rightly so, it is. I've never actually gone to search for that specific animation, but the animation itself is referring to the glitch child that is sat beside the hole. So you could argue that this might not even be the name, but a nod to another victim that fell for the doctor before. But at this point, it would require much more research, but we'll have to wait and see with that one. But I do like to think it's an indication of at least. Also, the name Sebo is often referred to in Greek as someone who is revered, which means to feel a deep respect or admiration for something or someone. Now, while I can't pinpoint if that is to be true, what if it is an indication of her character and her morals? Perhaps we'll see something like this in her DLC. But I just thought it was a real cool chance that we could actually find out the Braided girl's name, and if that is ever true, I hope they confirm it for us one day, because I would really like to know that. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think in the comments below about this video, and if you have any ideas about the Braided girl yourself. The Braided girl topic is... there is so much to talk about. There is so much evidence that could go either way, but it's really interesting. I would love to hear what you think, and if you have any theories, let me know. Again, I apologize if there have been any mistakes in this video. As you can still tell, I'm not fully percent. I have still got COVID and all that jazz, and I'm still a bit under the weather, but I definitely want to bring you a Little Nightmares video, and I also want to start working on the next Poppy video. But again, with that being said, if you like this video, let me know in the comments below. If you want to see more Little Nightmares, let me know in the comments below, and, you know, subscribe, you know, do all the usual stuff. And of course, with that being said, I must say goodbye. Thank you so much for watching this video and putting up with my ugly mush. I really appreciate your faces. Have a lovely morning, day, or night, wherever you are in this world. Stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next theory video.